Marilyn Monroe was Hollywood's golden girl of the 1950s and 60s, her charm and beauty captivating millions. But in August 1962, the world was left stunned by her sudden death at just 36. Decades later, Frank Sinatra dropped bombshell revelations about her tragic end. What shocking truths did he uncover about Marilyn's final days? Here's what Sinatra finally exposed, and it changes everything. Marilyn Monroe's early years. Marilyn Monroe, born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926, grew up to be Hollywood's iconic blonde bombshell. Her journey started far from the glamour of fame, rooted in a modest background. Marilyn's mother, Gladys Pearl Baker, came from a simple Midwestern family and moved to California early in life. At just 15, Gladys married John Newton Baker, who was 9 years her senior. Their marriage ended on rough terms, with Gladys winning custody of their two children, Robert and Bernice. But John didn't accept the decision, taking both children and moving to Kentucky. Marilyn only learned she had a sister, Bernice, when she was 12. They finally met when Marilyn was 17 or 18, reconnecting family ties after years of distance. After her split with Baker, Gladys took a job as a film negative cutter in Hollywood, remarrying in 1924 to Martin Edward Mortensen. But this marriage was also short-lived. They separated just months after marrying, and by 1928, they were divorced. Marilyn carried Mortensen's last name on her birth certificate, though his role in her life was brief. The story of Marilyn's biological father took a twist decades after her passing. In 2022, DNA tests revealed that her real father was not Mortensen, but rather Charles Stanley Gifford, a man Gladys had a brief affair with in 1925. With this revelation, Marilyn's family tree grew even more complex. She found she had two half-siblings from Gifford's previous marriage, a sister named Doris Elizabeth, and a brother named Charles Stanley. Marilyn Monroe's early years began with relative stability, thanks to her mother, Gladys, who, at first, was ready to provide her with the essentials of life. However, life in Los Angeles wasn't easy. As bills mounted and work demands increased, Gladys faced more financial strain, eventually deciding to place young Marilyn in the care of Albert and Ida Bolender, a foster family in the quiet town of Hawthorne. Here, Marilyn experienced a simple and stable upbringing under the Bolenders' watchful care. Gladys hoped to reunite with her daughter and eventually saved enough to buy a small house in Hollywood. When Marilyn was 7, Gladys brought her back home. But just as things seemed to be settling, tragedy struck in 1934. Gladys suffered a severe mental breakdown, leading to a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. She was soon admitted to a mental hospital, and Marilyn's life turned upside down. Left without her mother, Marilyn became a ward of the state. A close family friend, Grace Goddard, stepped in to take responsibility for young Marilyn's well-being. Grace took on the role of guardian, caring for Marilyn while overseeing her mother's affairs. However, Marilyn's life became turbulent over the next 4 years, with her moving between homes and dealing with constant changes in her living environment. These shifts took a toll on her, causing her to stutter and become increasingly shy and withdrawn. Marilyn Monroe's journey through childhood was marked by constant change and a search for stability. After her mother's breakdown, Marilyn was shuffled between different homes, including a brief stay at Los Angeles Orphans' Home No. 2. Feeling abandoned by both her mother and Grace Goddard, this was a difficult time for her. In 1936, Grace finally became her legal guardian, though Marilyn stayed at the orphanage until the summer of 1937. Living with the Goddards and occasionally with other relatives around Los Angeles and Compton, Marilyn began to dream of becoming an actress. Movies became an escape, a comforting contrast to the chaotic world around her. And she often said she felt drawn to that world of glamour because it offered something her real life didn't. In September 1938, Marilyn found some stability when she moved in with Grace's aunt and attended Emerson Junior High School. She even joined the school newspaper, showing a talent for writing. But despite her skills, her academic performance remained average. When her new guardian's health began to fail, Marilyn moved back in with the Goddards in early 1941 and soon enrolled at Van Nuys High School. By 1942, another big change came. Grace's husband got a job in West Virginia, and due to child protection laws, Marilyn couldn't move with them. Determined to avoid returning to the orphanage, she found an unexpected solution: marriage. Just after her 16th birthday, Marilyn married James Dougherty, a 21-year-old neighbor of the Goddards, in June 1942. This decision meant she left high school and stepped into the role of a young housewife. However, marriage didn't bring the excitement Marilyn hoped for. She quickly found herself bored and unfulfilled. In 1943, Dougherty enlisted in the Merchant Marine, and they moved together to Catalina Island. Little did Marilyn know, this move would soon lead her toward a brand new chapter and her first steps toward stardom. From modeling to acting. While James Dougherty was stationed in the Pacific in April 1944, Marilyn Monroe stayed with his family and found work at the Radioplane Company, an ammunition factory in Van Nuys. It was there, toward the end of 1944, that she crossed paths with photographer David Conover. He had been sent by Captain Ronald Reagan to capture photos of women working in factories to lift wartime morale. Although Marilyn's photos didn't make the final cut, her beauty left a lasting impression. In January 1945, she decided to leave the factory. Instead, she began modeling for Conover and others despite her husband's objections. By August 1945, Marilyn took an even bolder step, signing with the Blue Book Model Agency. The agency recognized her appeal as a pin-up model and began placing her in men's magazines and advertisements. To fit the role, she transformed her look by straightening her hair and dyeing it platinum blonde. Marilyn quickly became one of Blue Book's standout models, landing an impressive 33 magazine covers by early 1946. Using the name Jean Norma on occasion, she became known for her charm and ambition. Her dedication caught the attention of Emmeline Snively, the agency's owner, who encouraged her to aim even higher. In June 1946, with Snively's support, Marilyn signed with an acting agency. Although her initial interview at Paramount Pictures didn't go as planned, she soon got a break with 20th Century Fox. Executive Ben Lyon saw potential in her and arranged a screen test. While studio head Darryl F. Zanuck wasn't overly enthusiastic, Marilyn still landed a standard 6-month contract in August 1946. To mark the beginning of her Hollywood journey, she adopted the stage name Marilyn Monroe, inspired by Broadway star Marilyn Miller and her mother's maiden name. And with that, a new star was born. In September 1946, Marilyn Monroe closed a chapter of her life by divorcing James Dougherty, ending a marriage that no longer inspired her. She threw herself into her work at 20th Century Fox, focusing on acting, singing, dancing, and learning the art of filmmaking. By February 1947, her contract was renewed, and she earned a small role in the movie Dangerous Years. Alongside these small film parts, she continued modeling, but her shy and uncertain nature didn't quite sit well with Fox executives, who declined to renew her contract in August 1947. Despite the setback, Marilyn didn't give up. She enrolled in acting classes at the Actors Lab, where she even got a small part in the play Glamour Preferred. Knowing that connections were essential in Hollywood, she networked strategically, building relationships with influential people like Joseph M. Schenck, a Fox executive. Her friendship with Schenck opened a door to Columbia Pictures, where she signed a contract in March 1948. She worked hard to improve her skills, training with a drama coach and polishing her screen presence. While at Columbia, Marilyn took on the role of a chorus girl in the musical Ladies of the Chorus. She played a young woman courted by a wealthy man, a part that gave her a chance to showcase her talent. Although she auditioned for the lead in Born Yesterday, Columbia ultimately decided not to renew her contract after Ladies of the Chorus received a lukewarm response upon release. With 2 dropped contracts in her past, Marilyn's dreams of stardom seemed dim, but she held on, determined to make it in Hollywood. Just as it seemed her big break might never come, a twist of fate would soon change her path forever. A flash of success. When Columbia Pictures chose not to renew Marilyn Monroe's contract, she returned to modeling to make ends meet. She featured in a Pabst beer commercial and posed for John Baumgarth calendars, going under the alias Mona Monroe and embracing bold shots that included full-body poses. Marilyn was comfortable with these shoots, having done bikini and topless photos for artist Earl Moran, and this work helped sustain her. Her luck began to shift when she met Johnny Hyde, the influential vice president of the William Morris Agency. Hyde saw something special in Marilyn, becoming not only her mentor, but also her romantic partner. Through Hyde's connections, she landed small but notable roles in films like All About Eve and the noir classic The Asphalt Jungle by John Huston in 1950. Though her screen time was brief, Marilyn's striking presence caught the eye of audiences and marked her evolution from model to actress. In December 1950, Hyde attempted to secure a major 7-year contract for her with 20th Century Fox. Sadly, his plans were cut short when he passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack just days later. Devastated but determined, Marilyn carried on, finding her footing in 1951 with supporting roles in Fox comedies. Her growing popularity with audiences led the Army newspaper, Stars and Stripes, to name her Miss Cheesecake of 1951, especially beloved by soldiers in the Korean War. By February 1952, her rising stardom earned her the Hollywood Foreign Press Association's title of Best Young Box Office Personality. Her personal life was buzzing too, as she began a high-profile romance with baseball legend Joe DiMaggio. Marilyn Monroe was well on her way to becoming America's next big star. In March 1952, Marilyn Monroe faced her first big scandal. News broke that she had posed for an art calendar in 1949 featuring her in the nude. Rather than hiding or denying it, Marilyn and her studio took an unexpected approach. They decided to be open about it. She admitted she needed the money back then, gaining public sympathy and support. Her honesty won people over, and her popularity surged. Soon after, Life magazine featured her on its cover, dubbing her the talk of Hollywood. Columnist Hedda Hopper crowned her the Cheesecake Queen turned box office smash. With all the buzz, her studio quickly released 3 films: Don't Bother to Knock, Clash by Night, and We're Not Married. By now, her image as a sex symbol was cemented, with her modeling photos everywhere. But Marilyn wanted to be known for more than just her looks. She wanted to prove she was a serious actress. She began taking acting classes, hoping to expand her range and be seen for her talent. Behind the scenes, Marilyn struggled. She faced personal issues and turned to substance use, which sometimes affected her work. On set, other actors and crew members started viewing her as difficult to work with. Despite these challenges, 1953 became a turning point in her career. She starred as a captivating femme fatale in the film Noir Niagara, which established her signature glamorous look. Then came Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, a comedic musical that reinforced her dumb blonde persona on screen, though it was clear she was far from it. Later, How to Marry a Millionaire became her biggest box office success. With that, Marilyn Monroe solidified her position as Hollywood's ultimate sex symbol and a true movie star. Movie star challenges led to hasty marriage. Though Marilyn Monroe was rising to stardom, she wasn't free from struggles both on set and in her personal life. She relied heavily on acting coaches, and her frequent clashes with directors gave her a difficult reputation in Hollywood. Some directors saw her as a casting risk, but despite these challenges, her popularity kept growing. She even earned a coveted spot on the annual Top 10 Money-Making Stars list. Then, in December 1953, she appeared on the first-ever issue of Playboy, solidifying her status as a Hollywood icon. By the early 1950s, however, Marilyn was stuck in a restrictive contract, leaving her underpaid compared to other actresses. Part of the problem was her tense relationship with 20th Century Fox's head, Darryl Zanuck, who reportedly disliked her and blocked her attempts to take on more varied roles. When Spiros Skouras, the studio's owner, decided to focus solely on entertainment films, Zanuck cut down on serious movie roles, affecting Marilyn's opportunities. In 1954, things reached a breaking point when Marilyn refused a part in The Girl in Pink Tights, resulting in her suspension from the studio. This decision led to negative press coverage, with rumors swirling about her career. In a bold move to counteract the bad publicity, Marilyn married baseball legend Joe DiMaggio in January 1954. Their marriage made headlines as they traveled from San Francisco to Japan, attracting media attention every step of the way. Even on their unconventional honeymoon, they balanced DiMaggio's baseball commitments with a USO tour in Korea, where Marilyn performed for the troops. Upon her return to the U.S., Marilyn was welcomed back with great fanfare. She even won Photoplay's Most Popular Female Star Award. In March, she settled her differences with 20th Century Fox, landing a new contract that came with a $100,000 bonus and a promising role in The 7-Year Itch. This role would go on to become one of her most iconic, marking a turning point in her career. After her suspension from Fox, Marilyn was vocal in her criticism of the studio's release of River of No Return by Otto Preminger. Reluctantly, she went on to star in the musical There's No Business Like Show Business, but the film received mixed reviews. Many critics even labeled it vulgar upon its late 1954 release. Then, her luck took a huge turn. In September 1954, Marilyn starred in Billy Wilder's The 7-Year Itch, featuring the famous subway scene on Lexington Avenue that would become one of Hollywood's most iconic moments. The movie was a major success when it hit theaters in 1955, marking a new high point in her career. However, this success came at a personal cost. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio couldn't withstand his jealousy and possessiveness. Unable to deal with his controlling behavior, Marilyn decided to end their union. Following The 7-Year Itch, Marilyn made a bold career move. She teamed up with photographer Milton Green to launch her own company, Marilyn Monroe Productions. This decision ignited a legal dispute with Fox over the commitments they had made to her. Soon after, in 1955, Marilyn left for Manhattan to dive deeper into acting studies at the Actors Studio under the mentorship of Lee Strasberg. Strasberg's guidance became a transformative influence on her, both personally and professionally, especially as she navigated her divorce from DiMaggio. During this period, Marilyn also grew close to Marlon Brando and began a relationship with playwright Arthur Miller, which stirred controversy when Miller came under investigation for alleged communist ties. But Marilyn was undeterred, and in a surprising twist, She signed a new 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox in 1955. This deal granted her creative control and the freedom to collaborate with Marilyn Monroe Productions, a big win for her independence. In 1956, Marilyn's success continued to soar. She married Arthur Miller and starred in Bus Stop, a film that showcased her dramatic abilities, thrilling audiences and critics alike. Her performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination, proving she was more than just a Hollywood icon. She was a serious actress making her mark. In October, Marilyn began working on her first independent project, The Prince and the Showgirl, alongside the legendary Laurence Olivier. The film became a European favorite, highlighting her impressive resilience and charm. Yet, behind the scenes, Marilyn faced a tough period. In 1957, her health declined, and she was forced to take a break. But her comeback was nothing short of spectacular. In 1959, she returned to the screen with Some Like It Hot. Although the production was demanding, the movie became an instant classic and earned her a Golden Globe, firmly establishing her as one of Hollywood's most beloved icons. Her next and final film, The Misfits, cast her as a divorced woman finding companionship with aging cowboys. The film mirrored her own life, as her marriage to Arthur Miller fell apart. Miller had grown close to photographer Ing Morath, and they divorced in Nevada on June 29, 1961. Even with personal struggles shadowing her, Marilyn's performance was raw and real, earning public praise. By 1961, Marilyn's health challenges deepened. She was hospitalized for depression and found comfort in friendships with Frank Sinatra and Joe DiMaggio. That same year, she moved permanently to California. Despite her illness, Marilyn made a strong public comeback in 1962, where she was honored with a Golden Globe, her resilience shining through once more. Marilyn Monroe, found dead in bedroom. In early 1962, Marilyn Monroe began working on Something's Got to Give, but her ongoing health issues led to conflicts with 20th Century Fox. In June, the studio let her go, just 2 months before her tragic passing. Trying to reshape her public image, Marilyn collaborated with photographer Bert Stern for a series of intimate photos titled The Last Sitting, which were published after her death. Ironically, Fox soon regretted their decision to fire her and reopen talks, but the chance to reconcile came too late. In her final months, Marilyn lived in Los Angeles' Brentwood neighborhood. On the night of August 4, 1962, her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, stayed overnight. Around 3 a.m., Eunice grew worried when she couldn't get a response from Marilyn's locked bedroom. She reached out to Marilyn's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, who arrived quickly. Unable to get a response, he broke into her room through a window and found Marilyn lying lifeless on her bed. Shortly after, Dr. Hyman Engelberg, Marilyn's physician, arrived and confirmed her death at 3:50 a.m. The LAPD received notification at 4:25 a.m. A toxicology report revealed that Marilyn had passed between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on August 4th from acute barbiturate poisoning, marking the end of an unforgettable icon's life. The report on Marilyn Monroe's tragic death revealed chloral hydrate and pentobarbital in her blood and liver, with empty medicine bottles found near her bed. Given the extremely high doses in her system, authorities quickly ruled out an accidental overdose. The Los Angeles Prevention Team and the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office worked together on the investigation. Marilyn's doctors provided insights into her ongoing struggles with anxiety, depression, and past overdoses. Deputy Coroner Thomas Noguchi, considering these factors and finding no signs of foul play, officially concluded her death as a probable suicide. The news of Marilyn's passing shocked the world, dominating headlines across the United States and Europe. People were stunned, and reactions poured in from friends and fans alike. French artist Jean Cocteau reflected on the sadness of her life in the spotlight, while her colleagues like John Olivier and Joshua Logan spoke about how sensationalism deeply affected her. A private funeral was arranged on August 8th at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. Marilyn's ex-husband Joe DiMaggio, her sister Bernice, and her business manager organized the service, which was attended by close friends and family. Hundreds gathered outside the cemetery, hoping for a final farewell. For years after her death, DiMaggio kept his promise to her by sending roses to her gravesite every week, a beautiful tribute to the bond they had shared. In the decades following her death, conspiracy theories arose, questioning the official story. Some suspected foul play or even assassination. Theories gained momentum with Norman Mailer's 1973 biography, which reignited public speculation. In response, Los Angeles County District Attorney John Van de Kamp led a formal investigation in 1982. However, after thorough review, no evidence of foul play was found, affirming the original findings of Marilyn's tragic end. Frank Sinatra exposes the true cause of her death. In his final years, Frank Sinatra often thought back on the love, losses, and deep friendships he had experienced, especially his connection with Marilyn Monroe. Tony Opedisano, Sinatra's close friend and former road manager, offered insights in his memoir Sinatra and Me in the Wee Small Hours. According to Opedisano, Sinatra had his doubts about the nature of Marilyn's tragic death. He believed her death might have been more than just an accident, feeling it was too suspicious to ignore. While many believed Sinatra and Marilyn had a romantic relationship, Opedisano shared that their bond was based on genuine friendship. Sinatra admired Marilyn's beauty and humor, but considered her too delicate for a casual romance. Marilyn trusted Sinatra deeply, confiding in him about some of her most private relationships, including her affairs with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Robert Kennedy. When those relationships abruptly ended, she opened up to Sinatra about her confusion and hurt over being cut off so completely. The weekend before Marilyn's untimely passing, she stayed at Sinatra's Cal Neva Lodge near Lake Tahoe. Unknown to most, Marilyn had planned to announce a reconciliation with her ex-husband, Joe DiMaggio, in a press conference the following week. The news worried many close to the Kennedys, fearing Marilyn might reveal her past affairs with them. Despite these fears, Sinatra was certain Marilyn would never expose the Kennedys, as she still had lingering feelings for John. Opedisano shared that Sinatra often said Marilyn might have lived longer if not for that planned press conference, hinting at the dangerous attention it had drawn her way. After Marilyn Monroe's sudden passing, Frank Sinatra's attorney, Mickey Rudin, shared a chilling rumor with him that Marilyn might have been murdered, possibly by a barbiturate suppository. Sinatra began to believe that her death might be connected to the mafia. Sam Giancana, a powerful mob boss from Chicago, hinted that someone linked to both the Kennedys and Sinatra himself could have been involved in Marilyn's death. Johnny Roselli, a Los Angeles mobster, confided in Sinatra that Marilyn had likely been silenced to protect the Kennedys' reputation. Gathering information from Rudin, mob contacts, and his own knowledge of Marilyn's final days, Sinatra became convinced that a darker conspiracy lay behind her death. Sinatra suspected Robert F. Kennedy, along with labor leader Jimmy Hoffa, had plotted Marilyn's death to shield the Kennedys from scandal. He believed they might have arranged for Marilyn to be given a lethal injection, weaving a web of secrecy to protect JFK's political image. For Sinatra, this theory cast a dark shadow over Marilyn's tragic end, suggesting her life may have been cut short to preserve the Kennedys' ambitions. Sinatra even thought that a corrupt medical examiner had been involved, administering the fatal barbiturate while Marilyn was unconscious. In his view, her plans to announce a reconciliation with Joe DiMaggio threatened the Kennedys, as Marilyn could reveal her past affairs with both John and Robert Kennedy. Such revelations could have shattered JFK's pristine public image and impacted his re-election chances. Sinatra also suspected the mafia played a role in handling the grim situation, ensuring the Kennedys would have union backing in exchange for keeping the scandal under wraps. The deeper Sinatra dug, the darker the story seemed, adding layers of mystery and suspicion to Marilyn's untimely death. Frank Sinatra held firm in his belief that Marilyn Monroe's death was no accident, but a carefully orchestrated assassination planned by some of the world's most powerful figures. According to Sinatra, Marilyn's potential comeback and the secrets she might reveal were seen as too dangerous by these influential players. Driven by this conviction, Sinatra spent years after her passing privately investigating the possibility of foul play. He hired private detectives, combed through her phone records, and scrutinized her medical reports, hoping to uncover evidence that would reveal the truth about her tragic end. His dedication showed the depth of his loyalty and his desire to find justice for his close friend. Sinatra felt a deep obligation to honor Marilyn's memory and expose those responsible for her untimely death. He believed that powerful people, from Hollywood's elite and Washington's political powerhouses to the criminal underworld, had a role in silencing Marilyn. Surprisingly, Sinatra's suspicions also extended to the Los Angeles Police Department, which he suspected of masking the real cause of her death by labeling it as an accidental overdose. Fueled by a profound sense of loss and outrage, Sinatra held lasting resentment toward those he deemed responsible, including the Kennedy family, Jimmy Hoffa, and key figures in organized crime. In his view, these forces not only orchestrated Marilyn's demise, but also worked tirelessly to bury their involvement.